Aweoc is the Walloon Association of Sheep and Goat Breeders. Though focused on Wallonia and Belgium, breeders from Spain, Italy also belong to the association, as do some from the Grand Duchy. Aweoc's purpose is to keep tabs on all our animals with their high genetic values, which basically means we're in charge of their ID cards.
Take a look at this card. Here we deal with both the genetic and the health aspects, recording the results of assessments, servicings, births, genetic monitoring, genotyping and pedigree. That's as far as our work goes. The rest is up to the breeder.
The role of Walloon breeders is nothing other than to carry out a selection. That's the bottom line, and they're well aware of it, having carried out selections for years now. That's why our breeding is so envied abroad. One recent example involved selling animals to Romania. We also organize competitions or get experts to carry out assignments. We're also in charge of organizing all health checks, making sure that Walloon stock is 100% certified. We currently have around 500 members, 450 here in Belgium, some 30 in Spain and about 20 in Italy. We look after at least 15 breeds, 12 breeds of sheep, 4 breeds of goats, with dairy sheep on top of these. The neck for a good stew, cutlets for grilling, the shoulders and the legs. Whatever cut you take, Walloon lamb tastes great. That's right, Walloon lamb is just the best, and this is all because breeders have worked on selection for decades and have now achieved an exceptional quality of meat, fully meeting customer expectations. We've conducted surveys of consumers and supermarkets. Everything coming from our breeders came out top, whether regarding taste or the quality of the meat. The great thing about Wallonia is that we have lots of pastures and quality. What more do you need to make good meat? And then there's the grass. But it's not just the grass. We also need to look at the great work done by the selectors. The sheer amount of work put into selection over decades, resulting in the high level of breeding quality now achieved. And these animals are now sought after throughout Europe. Goats are kept primarily for their milk. Saanen goats. They're my soft spot. A beautiful goat. Great meat and absolutely loads of milk. Some goats give up to 1,200, 1,300 or even more kilos of milk a year. The piebald goat has the same qualities as a Saanen goat. She's quiet and also produces lots of milk. As with all goats, she'll have 1 or 2 kids. She originally comes from Holland. A great goat, but not often seen here in Wallonia. The chamois, or alpine goat, is another beautiful goat, with the same dairy characteristics as the Saanen. These are the 2 best goats you can have, and again, great for producing milk. The Nubian goat comes from Syria. Her milk-producing qualities are not as good as those of the Saanen or the chamois. But she has a different advantage. She has more fat and more proteins. And we mustn't forget that cheese is made with proteins. The Nubian goat easily adapts to the climate here, even if originally coming from a hot country. The Boer goat comes from Africa and is bred specially for her meat. She doesn't give much milk, though she has enough to rear her 2 kids. The dwarf goats. Beautiful goats, really great. Children love them, as do adults. The good thing about them is that all colours are accepted. They don't have to be brown or white. No, colours are all mixed. That's nice. They can be the pride of a garden, a sort of living plant. Just great. They're beautiful sheep with that English class and bearing, and they look magnificent out in the open fields. It's not for nothing that the English Crown has huge flocks of Suffolk sheep up in the wide open spaces of Scotland. They're primarily reared for their meat, and a main advantage is their high rate of growth. Born between December and February, you'll have meat lambs in just 3 months. By Easter, the lambs will generally already weigh 18 kilos. They're like good roughage and feed produced on the farm. Here on my farm, a little barley, a little spelt wheat, beet pulp, and hay and grass, that's all. The breed is very common in England, where there's monitoring system and infrastructure focused on this breed, all strong and well developed. There are catalogues, conferences, websites, and a whole range of documents containing selection guidelines. Lots of foreigners choose Suffolk rams for their crossing capabilities. Suffolks are very good for improving local stock. Raised for meat, the rams are very popular. Generally speaking, foreign buyers have a lot of trust in Walloon breeders, whether with regard to pigs, cattle, horses or sheep. They trust our products. We have small-scale breeding structures, and within these small-scale breeding structures, the very best sheep have been selected. Animals characterized by their high growth rate, their maternal instinct. These are the reasons for the interest shown by foreign buyers. It's a very tall sheep and very long, very hardy sheep. Its special feature is its tail, nicknamed the rat tail. It's one of the only sheep in Europe and in the world without any wool on its tail. The second feature is that lots of sheep don't have any wool on their bellies.
Yep, yep, hey Vino, hey, yep, allez, Vino, yep.
A very large carcass with a great capacity for ingesting both grass and hay. If you feed them properly, they'll give you lots of milk. A Belgian dairy ewe can produce about the equivalent of 40 kilos of Gouda. Milk quality is very high, being full of proteins and with lots of fat. The milk is very good against allergies and is naturally rich in omega-3 and omega-6. My flock? Well, I started out with 8 sheep, that's all, and today I have 243 sheep registered in the Laitier Belge. This is a Belgian milk sheep ram with almost perfect phenotype, a very long, very tall ram. It's like humans. There are ugly ones and handsome ones. There are very friendly ones and others less friendly. That's the way it is. But it is one flock living together. Selling directly to customers, we've built up a clientele with a passion for Belgian milk sheep. People know what they're eating, where the sheep come from, and that they haven't been fed with imported soya or any other such feed. It's a breed genetically belonging to Belgium. Looking at lambing, it's really a pleasure. There's hardly anything we have to do. Basically, you go to bed at night, and when you get up the next morning, all the lambs are there. No problems, no worries, whether for the mother or for the lambs. That's really a great advantage. Belgian milk sheep are a good buy. They produce lots of milk, at least 300 litres per lactation. That is for 6 or 7 months. This is a very long milking period, 7 months. That's something you don't often see. There's strong demand from Greece for our sheep due to their very good lactation and consequently the large amounts of milk. The milk is used for making feta, and demand is constantly increasing for feta. I've opted for mixed grazing to make the most of my fields. Cattle and sheep get on very well together and complement each other exceptionally well. The turf is much denser and even the cowslips are coming back. The sheep love grazing there and they keep the grass nice and short. The meat-giving qualities of Beltex sheep, that is the Belgian version of the Texel sheep, are very special. Their physical structure is classified as excellent on the well-known European classification system of carcasses. Also well known is the fact that the meat yield is significantly higher than with other breeds, being generally over 50%. Also particularly appreciated by European consumers is the not too thick layer of fat. We have around 250 Belgian blue cattle here. Parallel to these, we started breeding sheep. We chose the Texel. In our mind, this breed comes closest to the Belgian blues, i.e. it's an animal giving the most meat and the least fat. The Texel is one of the most docile breeds, easy to work with and easy to keep. When selected properly, it's a very fertile breed with on average 2 lambs for each ewe. The best reason for buying a Texel in Wallonia is the top selection with regard to meat, due to the fact that here in Wallonia we have a tradition of selecting sheep for their meat, as seen with the Belgian blues in cattle and the Pietrain in pigs. The double muscling at the rear is a specifically Walloon feature. As we know, the Pietrain pig and the Belgian blue are animals known to come from Wallonia, with their double muscling totally similar to the Belgian Texel. In fact, you could basically say that the Belgian Texel is the sheep equivalent to the Belgian blue. Even Dutch breeders come here to Wallonia to buy, as our sheep are really well selected. The Walloon Texel is an export sheep par excellence and has already been exported for more than 20 years to England, Italy, Spain, Romania, and even the Chinese are interested. Whether purebred or crossed with another breed, the Texel is the best sheep you can find. It's the best one for improving a carcass, making for more meat and less fat. What more do you need? Studies have shown that litters coming from crossing an animal of breed X with one from a breed like the Belgian Texel can have carcasses with much higher meat yields than other purebred or crossbred breeds, which have not been crossed with an animal of Beltex pedigree. The Walloon Texel has much more meat than the Dutch Texel. It's now recognized as being a Texel sheep with explicit muscular potential, quite novel and very special. The rear double muscling found in the Belgian Texel is comparable with that found in other Texel breeds, the French Texel, the British Texel and the Dutch Texel. But numerous studies target the Belgian Texel. Why? That's because of all the different breeds, it's the Belgian Texel that has the degree of hypermuscularity, that is, excessively large muscle development. The role of Walloon breeders is very simple to describe. It's all about a selection based on the observation of characteristics and of one special characteristic, the muscular development unique to the Texel. It would seem that selection has by no means reached the end of the road. Taking the alphabet as a scale, selection is currently at the letter B. There are still lots of things to do, taking us up further through the alphabet. At present, we're right at the beginning. We're just beginning to find out what genes are involved, which parts of the genome are responsible for this muscular development. The Bleu du Maine is a large-sized sheep, a ewe with lots of development and very stocky. It's a very fertile breed, giving lots of lambs and easy to breed. The ewes are very good for milk. Lambing is easy. Ease of lambing above all. Ewes are very good with their lambs, 3 or even 4 lambs reared by one ewe. She rears them alone without any help. In my mind, it's the most important aspect. So one of the top features of the Bleu du Maine is the quality of its mother ewes. They're hardly ever here in the pen, they're mostly out in the fields, and that's another strong point of the Bleu du Maine. Mating a more meaty ram with bleu ewes is just the right thing to do. You end up with a very meaty lamb, and due to the fact that the mother is the Bleu du Maine, lambing is easy. You're going to get the meatiness from the ram, ending up with a good size-to-meat ratio. Though the breed originally comes from France, we're now seeing French breeders coming here due to the fact that our breeding standards are high, very high. Here in Wallonia, we've got several breeders who are really good at selecting. And currently, the French, though they have much larger flocks, they're not so good at selecting. They look up to us, admiring what we're doing here. They're even coming up here to buy our sheep. That just goes to prove how good we are at crossing, coming up with beautiful animals, nice and blue and well-sized.
Our Bleu du Maine here in Wallonia are better than the French ones. Ours are taller, have better legs, better shoulders, and are generally that much bigger.
The ram you see there, he's about to leave for a sheep breeder in Brittany. In fact, the breeder's picking him up here. There are still some good reasons for coming here to Wallonia. It's a very docile sheep, friendly, easy to handle, and offering a very high fertility rate. On average, each ewe has 2.5 lambs. You can mate the ewe lambs very early once they're about 1 year old, and there you get on average 1.8 lambs from each ewe lamb, a very good result. Swifters are easy to breed, friendly, docile and easy to handle. When you get to the field, they come running towards you. You can catch them easily, no need to first get them into a pen. This year we've seen some going to Italy and others to France. We also have orders from Spain. If you're after producing meat, the Swifter is a great choice with its excellent carcass. But you can also crossbreed Swifters with other meaty rams. In such a case, you'll get a good result with the carcass, make breeding and lambing easier and improving fertility. The Swifter originally comes from Holland. Then I should buy them in the Netherlands. No, buy them here in Wallonia, because Walloon breeders make a very strict selection, making sure we get the right animal. Walloons have been selecting for decades. It's in their genes. It's often passed down from father to son. My parents were already selecting sheep. I'm carrying on in their footsteps. I chose the Swifter because they're easy to breed and to diversify. Any regrets? None at all. This is a Texel Bleu. There's not actually much difference between a Texel Bleu and a Texel Blanc. They both provide high-quality meat and both have high yields. They both originally come from the island of Texel, and they both feature the double muscling at the rear. They differ mainly in their colour and their hardiness. Numbers in Wallonia are currently not very high. To start with, there are only 7 or 8 breeders, and basically each flock only has 6 or 7 sheep. There are 2 or 3 breeders trying to expand, but it takes time. Why breed the Bleu? The breed is slightly more hardy. I was asked about exporting, and that's basically why I started. A few breeders got together and started breeding the Texel Bleu. At the moment, orders are coming in mainly from Italy and Spain. Last winter we sold them a few, and now they're coming back and ordering more. The Ardennais Roux is a sheep with its origins here in Belgium. It's a sheep that doesn't need a lot to live on and is therefore just right for nature reserves, where it lives off wild plants. It's a hardy sheep, whose meat is much leaner and which gives high-quality milk. In Wallonia, it's a breed that's really taken off. There are now some 6,000 to 7,000 sheep officially registered. It's a multi-purpose sheep, and you even find people having a few of them at the bottom of the garden. The Ardenois is unique, cleaning up fields differently to all other breeds. The Ardenois roux is, for instance, the ideal complement for horse breeders. It will eat horse droppings, thereby helping to keep fields clean. 3 years ago, I took over this field, which had been previously used for horses. It was full of thistles and nettles. In just 3 years, the sheep have cleaned up the field. Just look what the grass now looks like. It's a sheep that's very easy to breed and doesn't require much work. I've seen sheep with hardly anything left to eat and still able to bring up 2 lambs. The ewes are very fertile, on average giving birth to 2 lambs. Lambing's very easy. You can go out to work during the day, come back in the evening and find lots of newborn lambs. All you have to do is tag them. As with most breeds, lambing generally takes place between January and March, but the good thing about this breed is that you can easily get it to lamb at other times throughout the year. Professional breeders crossbreed it with meaty breeds, obtaining fantastic results. Nice lean meat in large quantities. You really need to taste it. The taste comes close to that of game. It's quite a special taste, but lots of people like it. We're currently seeing more and more orders from abroad, reflecting the special characteristics of the breed and the quality of its meat. Just recently, 40 lamb ewes went off to France. The characteristics of the French Texel? Docile, easy to breed, hardy. Its great potential to provide heavy carcasses without much fat. This allows us to make the most of the lambs basically raised on grass. I'm breeding the French Texel because it's a hardy breed, very docile and easy to breed. The ewes are very maternal, and their good lactation helps the lambs grow quickly. Moreover, they're Texel stock, a breed capable of producing heavy but lean lambs, something well appreciated by customers here in Belgium. A ewe will weigh between 80 and 90 kilos, and a ram between 120 and 130 kilos. That's quite a heavy sheep. It's a breed I was given on my first communion, and since then I've continued to breed and select. Now we are selector breeders, continually trying to improve our breed in our capacity as a Walloon breeder. What really impressed me about this breed is the fact that it's a white breed. We Walloon breeders, we have lots of know-how about selecting animals. Just look at the Belgian Blue or the Pietrin pig. And it's this know-how that helps us improve stock from other countries. Whether you want to buy breeding animals or ewes for breeding, all you have to do is to come here to Wallonia. We've got several breeders working on selection. Quality here in Wallonia is good, and you've also got a lot more choice here. The Ardennais Tacheté, a speckle-faced local breed from here in the Ardennes, well adapted to the region here, whether with regard to the climate, the type of ground or the flora. The breed is particularly suited for slopes, for all types of nature reserves, for meagre grazing, for pastures of high biological value. That's where you'll find the Ardennais Tacheté. He's not going to lose weight, but neither is he going to benefit from it. He'll just be satisfied. That's what he likes eating best of all. It's a sheep that's not really worried about the quality of its food, the slopes, the nature reserves, and it's just great for keeping the grass short. Its main characteristic is its hardiness, not just with respect to foot health and to vermifugation. Lambing takes place more frequently, and they're very easy to keep. Comparing it to the roux, it's true that they have a lot in common. You could virtually say they're cousins. However, from a genotyping perspective, they're a separate breed. This is a local breed. Looked at from a genetic diversity perspective, it's important to preserve what we still have. Secondly, it's a sheep that's very easy to keep. In the normal run of things, there's hardly anything to worry about. You can crossbreed it with other breeds, giving more meat. But purebred, it's a sheep whose meat already has a characteristic taste. You might not get that much meat off it, but the taste is really excellent. We've been farming sheep since 1952. We started out with the French Texel. But we needed to find another breed to have lambs available for slaughter throughout the year. This naturally took us to the Vendéen, allowing sales throughout the year. The Vendéen has been here in Belgium since the 1970s, but breeding was in the sole hands of an Hainaut breeder. It was he who introduced them to me. He said, "Marc, give this breed here a try." So we picked up one of his lambs for slaughter. I took it to our butcher, who tried the meat. He found it really succulent, with the carcass yielding a lot of meat. And that's basically how I got started. As they just feed on grass, you get a meat of high nutritional value. This one, for instance. Now, take a look at the saddle, which sticks out a bit at the side. There's a small layer of fat, but as you can see, there's meat underneath. There's not much fat even across the back, as you can see. There's this small layer of white fat, but that's normal for hardy breeds. It gives the meat that extra bit of taste, finesse and tenderness. We started out with a small flock of 50 sheep, and now we're up to about 250, and the butcher is still just as happy as to start with. For those who don't know how to cook a lamb, there's only one thing you need do. Put it on a spit, coat it with honey and sesame, and then spit roast it slowly over a fire for several hours. Then invite the neighbors and have a good party. The butchers ask us for standard carcasses weighing 17 to 20 kilos. This we can provide easily with the Vendéen. It's a very fertile breed, with more than 2 lambs to each ewe. Very hardy as well. You can keep it outside or in the sheep pen, all without difficulty. One big advantage is that you can mate the ewe lambs within the first year, giving you 1 additional year over other breeds. It's also a breed which is not stuck to a certain lambing season. You can have lambs from November to April, also a great advantage. When new breeders come here who don't yet know the Vendéen, I always say, the ewe, she does everything by herself. All you have to do is tag the lambs. This is a very friendly and pleasant sheep, and lots of people are unable to resist it. It's a black breed with black wool and a white stripe on its head. Its feet are also white, as is the tip of its tail. It's what you'd call a mixed-purpose breed, giving lots of milk and producing right-sized lambs.
When I saw the mother with her 2 babies who came up to be petted by me, it was love at first sight for the breed. I've always been very happy with my sheep, and our friendship goes back a long way. They like to come and be spoiled. That's all I want. Make a bit of cheese, have some nice sheep, providing me with love and friendship.
What's so nice about these sheep is their friendly character to start with. And then, with respect to breeding, lambing is never a problem. And the lambs grow up without any problem. It's a very easy sheep, giving its owner lots of satisfaction. Crossbreeding it with a ram from a meatier breed like the Texel, you end up with lambs who will grow very quickly thanks to their mother's milk. A good rate of growth, combined with the right size, is much more interesting for the trade. The ewes lamb in January, February or March. From June onwards you can sell the lambs before Texel lambs start arriving on the market. We started off buying a ewe and 2 ewe lambs a dozen years ago. Our whole flock derives from that purchase. We've still got one of that ewe's granddaughters, and she's got a daughter, a granddaughter, and 2 great-granddaughters here in the flock you've just seen. It's not uncommon for a ewe to give birth to 3 or even 4 lambs a year. There are not many of us breeders, just a couple of handfuls working with these purebred sheep. There are not many of us, but the demand is there. We sell nearly all our animals each year for breeding, and in my mind, the future has a lot in store for us at this level.
I was really struck by the Ile-de-France, and I chose it because I just love its morphology. They're sheep that are very easy to keep in a flock because they're so gregarious. They live in flocks, following each other around.
There are lots of Ile-de-France breeders in Wallonia, but very few selector breeders. They're all professionals, with flocks ranging in size from 200 up to 1,000 for certain breeders.
The Ile-de-France is a large-size breed, which makes lambing easier. The ewes are big, and therefore it's easy for the lambs to get out. But the best thing about the Ile-de-France is that it's not tied to a specific lambing season. You can put the ram into the flock and you'll have lambs coming throughout the year. And that means you can sell lambs for meat throughout the year. This trait can also be passed on by the ram to its descendants, thus allowing other breeds to also be less tied to a lambing season. The Ile-de-France looks really friendly because of its woolly forehead. Makes it look like he's wearing a helmet. But I also like the large size and his imposing stature.
The breed obviously originally comes from the Ile-de-France, i.e. from the Paris region, but it's now spread to the whole world. If the breed originally comes from the Ile-de-France, that's surely where I would buy my breeding stock. You'll do a lot better coming here. Here we've improved the quality of the meat and of meat production. We cut back the size a bit, but increase the amount of meat, so you can get more meat off a carcass, and the taste is also better. The best things about the Ile-de-France are its year-round lambing, its production of high-quality wool, and basically the quality of its meat. You can put a ram in with the ewes any time of the year. This gives you lambs the whole year round, and that gives you a steady income throughout the year. There's one good thing about breeding. I only have to get up once or twice a night. They lamb very easily. I retrieve the lambs and put them in a special pen. In my mind, that's a lot better for them. And quite honestly, I prefer to sleep a bit with my wife rather than sleeping with my sheep. The Hampshire is a very charming sheep to look at. The fact that its head is covered with wool gives it a very individual look. On the other hand, the meat aspect of this lamb is also very interesting, and it's a very profitable sheep from this perspective. The lambs are like big teddy bears. This is due to the fact that their head is completely covered by wool. From a meat perspective, they're also very interesting. They can be classified as a meaty sheep with their large size legs. They give a lot of meat and they're also very fertile. This type of sheep has 2 nicknames. One is the teddy bear sheep, due to the way it looks when it's a lamb, and the other one is the castle sheep. Why castle sheep? Well, this sheep was originally used in England for cutting the lawns around the castles. You could say it was the first eco-lawnmower. It's a sheep which has been selected for living on very, very poor land, and it really gets by on hardly anything. What you mustn't do is give it flaked supplements. That's spelling disaster, because it's a sheep that benefits from everything, so it will start putting on fat. But one of the best things about the Hampshire is its hardiness. The ewes are very good at giving milk, and they're great mothers. Generally, they have multiple births, and you can reckon that within 90 days, a lamb will weigh 18 kilos. You don't have to go over to England, to the county of Hampshire, to find this breed of sheep. Here in Wallonia, you've got some good breeders. Walloon breeders have really improved the breed, selecting its prime qualities. You should know that Walloon breeders are above all improvers and selectors. I've got a nice little lake, and this lake had to stay nice. If I'd put in animals that would have spoiled the banks, that would have been a disaster. Then I found this breed of sheep. It respects the banks, doesn't do any damage to them. Apart from that, the Soay is a very aesthetic breed and very ecological. It's a pleasure just to watch them. They're also very practical animals. They lose their wool naturally. They don't get foot rot. They lamb throughout the year, and in my mind, they are almost comparable with mountain sheep. They're just great. It's an animal that's completely pure, never been hybridized with other breeds. It's a very old breed of wild sheep, and it's been around for about 3,000 years. It's a small mountain sheep with a hardy appearance and a thick fleece. It's not very big, so it's also not very heavy. The ram will weigh 40 kilos, the ewe 30, and it's a sheep that's highly resistant to disease. Its fleece varies in colour as well, from dark to light. We do our best to maintain this diversity, and we want to have sheep of all types. It's a sheep that's really hardy. It's outside all the time, in summer and winter. All it needs is water, a stone to lick, and maybe a little hay in the winter. It's a sheep that's really easy to work with. You don't have to worry about the hooves. They look after them naturally. They molt, so you don't even have to shear them. There's really not much for you to do. For some 20 years now, we've been selecting Soay sheep here in Belgium to obtain the best phenotypes, the ones best matching the breed standard. And we keep different types here: shaggy Soay sheep, woolly Soay sheep. We're doing our best to maintain as much genetic diversity as possible.